What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Walkout Network. It's your man, Ant Walker, here with another edition of Unleash, the weekly panel discussion show. Joining me, as usual, are two of my favorite people, period, and definitely two of my favorite people in the sport. We're going to start off with the man in the middle. He is the jack of all trades who has mastered them all, the senior editor of Sherdog.com, Ben Duffy. Ben, what's going on?
Hey, I'm doing really well. I mean, we're coming hot and fresh off a card of the year candidate that I'm sure we're going to talk quite a bit about. Adonis is firing up the band. I'm as excited as he is.
And of course, every week the panel is anchored by the man with the stats, the facts, the figures, and the numbers. He is the associate editor of Sherdog.com. My man, Jay Petr. Jay, what's going on?
I love the idea of a live band to introduce us. I think this is something we're going to have to work out and put together, because I know Duffy's also a talented musician. I used to know my way around the keys, so maybe we'll unleash something differently. And speaking of unleashing, we have our stat of the week, and the stat of the week is 5, because no more impressive thing. I mean, there are lots of impressive things this weekend, is that Robbie Lawler won his fight, which was a rematch from a fight a long time ago. Opponent doesn't matter, because Robbie Lawler is 5-0 in rematches. He has never lost when facing the opponent the next time. Nico Vitale, Scott Smith, Johnny Hendricks, okay, whatever you feel about the decision, whatever, Rory McDonald, and Nick Diaz. So, I mean, Ruthless Robbie Lawler, 5-0 in rematches. I mean, Legends Tour, who we got next?
Definitely a ridiculous stat there and a great performance by Robbie Lawler. We're definitely going to talk about that a little bit more. But let's start off with the card overall. We'll just tee this up for our swing or miss portion of the show. UFC 266, action-packed, fun to watch. A lot of relevant things happen on the card. My question to you guys, swing or miss, this was better than UFC 261, headlined by Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal in their rematch.
Swing. I'm swinging hard on this one. 261 was an amazing night of fights. It was a blast, but no card is going to be my card of the year that has two main card fights end in like weird injuries. Like, I'm sorry. Like the rewatch value is not there. Yeah, it might have been the card of the year up to this point, but 266 was amazing. Like not only was it divisionally relevant, but even the fights that weren't supposed to delivered, and the aforementioned rematch being one of them.
It's a good point you raise. I thought about 261 because that was the one we had discussed when it happened, going, oh my god, this was back in right at the end of April. We're like, whoa, this one's the one, because of just what happened. Usman starching Masvidal, a Rose in the head kick, Valentina going, Jessica Andrade. Should we go? Whoa. 3 crazy events, and it ends the night well. But to be event of the year, it feels like historically we've always had it that those type of cards contain multiple blank of the year things or categories or nominees. Like, obviously, fight of the year, I think people are probably going to look at Alexander Volkanovski, Brian Ortega. People are talking about that already. I mean, there were one stinker on the whole of, Maximum Brundage. I like Maximum Brundage because I really enjoy the wrestling work that was going on. I like what Maximum was doing to somehow circle around, hold over here, and take his back with the other half of his body. So I didn't despise that fight as others did. I mean, Matt Semelsberger got up there and did exactly what he was supposed to do. There were just moments. And I think for event of the year, it needs to have those moments. And we had a few at 261, obviously, Usman being the most memorable one. Or was Rose's head kick more memorable? I don't know. But we have Volkanovski Ortega, where people can finally look at Volkanovski and go, okay, this guy's legit. Like, beforehand, everyone's like, oh, he lost to Max Holloway. We're not sure how he is, even though his last 4 wins are what? Chad Mendes, Jose Aldo, Max. That's about, and Ortega, that 5 in a row. That's a pretty wild streak. So I think to end the night like that is really, really important, to have an event that you remember. Because if you have an event that ends crazy, and then the last fight in the main card is a lay and pray or something like that, it will ruin all the momentum. and this did the opposite. This ramped what we had and the excitement up, I think. And Adonis, what do you guys think?
Two round of the year candidates.
Yes, thank you.
Water?
You guys are making a great argument for 266, but I'm actually going to go toward 261 as being the superior card because, like you said, Jay, the moments were, I think, more dramatic for 261.
I do agree there.
It was such a sampler platter of what MMA has to offer, and that's kind of what I look for when I think of event of the year. The broken leg to the from Chris Weidman, to the elbows from Crucifix from Valentina, the Rose head kick, and then Masvidal getting his face dislodged in epic fashion. Like, you couldn't ask for a better sequence of a main card. Buddy, what's wrong? You don't agree? You don't agree?
Well, he's upset about Chris Weidman. I feel you, buddy.
I mean, hey, I've had that same injury, so that was tough for me to watch.
And it's a good point that you raise, Adonis, in that there was that tough moment on the main card. You go, ooh, it loses it. But at the same time, 266 also lost momentum with the Blaydes Rozenstruik fight. Like, because Andrade getting out there and just walking through Cynthia Calvillo and the Marab comeback, it was just ramping up. Like, it was UFC 189, where it was right about, what was it, Tim Means, Matt Brown, where it was just every single moment was just,
it just got more and more
intense.
Right? It's like a crescendo building.
Exactly, like Stevens Bermudez, and just up all the way to the top. So that is a good point, Adonis. I'm glad you brought that up.
All right, gentlemen. So, let's give some love to the main event. Alexander Volkanovski, Brian Ortega, as we said before, certainly a fight of the year candidate. I mean, third round has to be round of the year so far. Well, I mean, it is, buddy. It is. There's no way you can argue against that. Do you think it's time that we put some respect on Volkanovski's name?
Who was not respecting this man's name? Like, I heard him say that, and I've heard a few people echo it in the wake of the in the wake of fight week and in the wake of the fight itself. But who were these people that were not respecting his name? I mean, the only thing you could possibly say is that he might have lost that second Holloway fight, but I mean, he was favored against Ortega coming into this. I at least thought, he was going to win. I think he's the best featherweight on the planet right now. And, he's sneaky high on the list of the most accomplished featherweights ever, like, already. Like, yeah, it's time to put respect on his name. It's been time to put respect on his name. I do. Respect.
I was wondering if this is more the sentiments around respecting Alexander Volkanovski as a result of this performance are more because of the reaction that AJ McKee got for his win against Pitbull, where a lot of open discussion, and I'm certainly part of that discussion. I still think AJ McKee might be the best featherweight in the world. When all that sort of talk permeates the culture, is that where people are coming from? Especially Volkanovski, to see someone who's not in the UFC, who has not fought the same sort of guys that he's fought with the same level of consistency, be considered superior to him. You think that's the genesis of this?
I think that part of it is that I mean, multiple media members posited when AJ McKee knocked out Patricio Pitbull, he's the real number one featherweight in the world and not Alexander Volkanovski. And a lot of the reason why is because of Volkanovski's last performance against Max Holloway. I scored it for Sherdog. I had scored it for Max Holloway, but I'm okay with Volkanovski getting the win. But because of the question marks that led up to Volkanovski being the champion and saying, oh, well, he's the paper champ. When Max gets it back, he'll make the adjustments. And the third time will be the charm, or whatever people think, is that people by and large were still sleeping on Volkanovski as a legitimate talent, which is fascinating because before this fight, fans and whomever would have laughed of the prospect of Volkanovski being like a top 3 pound for pound name. And now people are, just by this win alone, that is now a changed narrative. People, the question is, okay, Usman, Volkanovski, and that in itself is how this performance changed what Volkanovski's perception is out there.
Apple?
And he and Usman are really in the same boat. I mean, how different would the narrative be about these guys if each of them didn't have a silly single loss like in their first 5 fights? Like, think of how much of Khabib's mystique was built around him being undefeated, and how much different it would be if he had like some lame loss in like Tech Crep Fight Club in 2012 when he was, 20 years old. It would make no difference to how he was actually as a fighter during the meaningful part of his career, but it changes the whole narrative. And Volkanovski and Usman are both in that same boat.
Yeah, definitely some good observations there. I want to throw something out to you guys a little bit off script here. We can spend a whole bunch of time on this one, but I think this is a good one here. I tweeted this out on Fight Night, like after that main event ended. Brian Ortega has done a spectacular job of pulling some amazing feats off in the cage, and he is clearly an elite level featherweight, but not able to just get over that hump for the title. I think that Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway are like the Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier of the featherweight division. Brian Ortega is firmly established, as is Alexander Gustafsson. Am I crazy for having that thought, gentlemen?
No, you're not. I actually mentioned Ortega's name, not really in passing, kind of referentially, about Ortega being the Gustafsson, of that legacy. It's early to tell. It's still really early to tell in his career, but he is 0-2 in title fights. However, they are to Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski. But it's the same time as Gustafsson's losses in the title fights were to Cormier and Jones. And you look at that and go, I don't know if he's able to beat the top guys, but he's 30. Like he's still got plenty of mileage left. He's got plenty of tread in the tires. Here's the one thing. This is the one thing that makes me concerned about Ortega's future going forward as a top featherweight. He takes so much damage, and we have known that historically. Duffy, we have talked about this week.
Is he the first featherweight to have taken 200 plus strikes in more than one fight?
He's the first UFC fighter to absorb more than 200 significant strikes in 2 fights. First one, period, all the way at the beginning. Just never had happened that you take that much damage, and you can tell. And we talk about fights in the past, like Cain Velasquez, Junior Dos Santos. When Junior Dos Santos lost the 2 fights to Cain Velasquez, and you went, wow, those are life-changing beatings. Those are trajectory-changing. Oh my God, he's not going to be quite the same, just because of the amount of damage he took and the beating that happened. And I'm concerned of that because he has always been the kind of guy, I'm going to take 3 to land a big shot. I'm going to take everything you have, Clay Guida, and you can beat me for 14 minutes and 40 seconds, but I'm going to knee you in the face and finish you off. Oh my God, I'm going to catch you in a choke. When he gets to the top of this division, he's finding this opportunist kind of losing until I win isn't going to work anymore. And I'm concerned, and to answer your question, that yes, he will relegate himself to a bridesmaid role just by his killer be killed mentality.
I'm feeling like he's gonna have sort of the career arc without the title, of course, of a Chuck Liddell or Vanderlei Silva, where like your style is established in the fact that you can take damage. Look at Brian Ortega's best wins and his best moments in this fight this past Saturday. I mean, he's taking a hellacious beating, and then all of a sudden he finds a way to wrap his hand around your neck. Like he finds a way to pull victory from the jaws of defeat. You think about all the shots that Chuck Liddell absorbed on his way to knocking your head clean off your shoulders. Same thing with Vanderlei Silva. And then they hit a point where you slam into that wall, and you can't take that damage anymore. Think about Brian Ortega without the level of chin that he's been shown to have. Does he make it out against Moicano? Probably not. Does he make it out against Cub Swanson? Probably not. So I think we're going to start seeing him, and maybe this doesn't happen this next fight. Maybe it doesn't happen for his next 4 or 5 fights. But there will be a time in the not too distant future where that chin is not going to be the same, and we're not going to have those spectacular performances anymore because fight's going to get cut short.
Could I drop a couple real quick stats before Duffy jumps in? Okay, good. Ortega's fought 10 times in the UFC. Before this fight, every time he had at least attempted one submission, he'd won the fight. So this was obviously a big difference. And 10 fights in the UFC, he's only outlanded his opponent twice. Korean Zombie and Thiago Tavares by a whisker because of the finishing sequence. Every other fight, he has been outstruck, even though he's won most of them. So, I mean, yeah, that's something.
Wow.
I'm gonna throw something out here that may make me look really stupid in 3 to 5 years, or may make me look prophetic, but I don't think we're gonna get a chance to see him take the Chuck Vanderlei track. I think we're more likely to see him take the Rory McDonald track, where a couple of real serious wars both kept him from attaining that true champion level and kind of showed him the door from the sport. And right now with Rory, we have to ask ourselves, okay, is it his commitment to the sport and like he doesn't seem like he really wants to fight, or is it the accumulated mileage and wear, or is it a combination of the two? Because Ortega's always had better things to do than fight. Aside from the year he debuted, he's never fought more than twice in a calendar year, and he's flat out said he doesn't want to fight more than twice in a calendar year. His weight cut is huge, and he doesn't want to do that more than twice a year because he basically has to have a camp before the camp. He likes to surf. Like, I could see him, he's 30 now. I could see him by the time he's 35, like being done fighting and being back to surfing and being Henry Gracie's kind of like, second in command, and like they're doing well down there, and just kind of being out of the fight game. Like he strikes me as a guy who, yeah, like his heart may not be in it for the long haul.
But we know fighters that have historically not been in it ever, like a certain Nick Diaz, who has never wanted to be part of the fight game and still made it a long way. So, I mean, Diaz very possibly is the exception to the rule, but I know what you're saying.
Basically, he has a choice. Valentina Shevchenko, co-main event, she defended her title in epic fashion against Lauren Murphy. I mean, this was not even a test. This was really an execution. She played with her food the whole time. And then when she decided that, hey, it was time to go home and fire up some Netflix, the fight was over. What do you think she needs to do to pass Amanda Nunes when it comes to pound-for-pound rankings here, fellas?
There are a couple things. Obviously, things out of her control, Nunes could lose. Certainly, if they fight a third time and Shevchenko gets the clean win, that changes everything. Otherwise, what might need to happen is Nunes retires and Shevchenko moves up and wipes out the Nunes-less 135-pound division.
That is an interesting point. I didn't even think about that she could move back up when Nunes is gone. But Nunes is how old? She's 34?
She's 34.
She's 33. She's 2 months older than Valentina Shevchenko.
Yeah, but she is feeling like the siren song of domestic life, and she's talked about for several years now. I'm going to go have my family pretty soon here. They have a kid already. Nina took over a year off.
Mm-hmm. Holly Holm said that, and I don't know that. I mean, obviously things happened, but I remember that was a very clear thing. She was going to retire at a certain age, and I'm done. I'm out. And it looks like you're about to burst at the seams with something, Duffy.
Something about Jackson Wink, because Condit said the same thing. They just got something pulls you back in. That's all I'm going to say.
Same thing for Jon Jones. Sport just keeps on pulling him back, and he wants to do his own thing.
That's not a hook. That is a pair of handcuffs.
Yeah. The long arm of the law.
It's like the zip tie handcuffs,
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, Nunes getting passed by Shevchenko in the rankings. I think the only way that happens is because if Amanda Nunes retired, she still has such a cemented legacy. When you think of the great names that she retired, like that she gave them, like they were already all-time greats. She gave them a firm beating, and we haven't seen them since. Like Ronda Rousey. I mean, Misha Tate's come back since, but still. There was a reason why she retired. Yeah, there's a reason why she retired in the first place. I really have a hard, like, when you think about the Mount Rushmore of women's MMA, and Amanda Nunes has beaten the other three people on that mountain. It's very difficult for her to surpass. And keep in mind, she still has 2 wins over Valentina Shevchenko. So I don't think this is happening unless they fight a third time and Shevchenko is able to get the victory. And I don't even think just a decision victory will do it, because then you'll say, well, 2 decisions to 1 decision. I think she has to knock her out or submit her. Like, she has to finish her. And I don't quite see that happening. Shevchenko will be better suited just carving her own legacy. And maybe, like you said, if she sticks around long enough with the same level of dominance, maybe she surpasses her. But only a couple of years, a couple months younger than Nunes.
2 months.
2 months, but she also has a lot of mileage in combat sports with a very long Muay Thai career. So she might be closer to the end of her rope than we realize.
There's this weird fascination in the sport that has developed the last 3 years or so, where it's all about a fighter move. It's the boxing mentality, in that boxing, oh, you're not a great boxing champion unless you move up a division. And Manny Pacquiao is famous for claiming belts in higher. You just keep on moving up and winning titles. And I don't think that works at MMA as much, not just because the weight classes are closer in boxing. 10 pounds is 10 pounds. But I don't think it's necessary. Demetrius Johnson is one of the best fighters to have ever done it. And that's largely due to his run at flyweight, where people were saying, hey, man, go up to 135. It's like, why? I'm going to keep doing this. And he did. And he set the record for the most title defenses. He did incredible things. He named a submission, a flying armbar setup. What, are you kidding me? Shevchenko, I'm with you there. I think that Shevchenko would be better suited to just keep going to 125. And, if she gets the Nunes fight, cool. But there are still challenger left. I mean, it probably the next one is Calderwood versus Grasso, but that's coming soon. So then you can have that to set up. Nunes is at 135 and 145. Let Valentina run 125, and we're good that way. And I feel that it's entirely possible that Valentina Shevchenko can pass or just simply outlast Amanda Nunes in the pound-for-pound consideration. However, she will not be able to pass her in greatest of all time, which is obviously a big distinction. Think of Fight Matrix. Fight Matrix has the rankings, and it has the historical, and it has the current ones. And so you can look at that and go, okay, Amanda Nunes is going to be 1. Shevchenko will be 2, however they are ranked. It's just that pecking order. Whereas Shevchenko could theoretically be number 1, but she still won't be able to pass Nunes because the head-to-heads, just how it is.
It doesn't help that Shevchenko's division sucks. If Shevchenko was cleaning house in a much stronger division than Nunes, was juggling too, there would be more of an argument. But flyweight is having a harder time coming up with like non-laughable challengers even than like bantamweight is.
Bantamweight is like men's light heavyweight in that, well, obviously men's, in that all the challengers are going to keep cycling around, so that Nunes has wins over Rousey, has a win over Holm, has a win over Tate, where Shevchenko doesn't have that luxury of being able to fight Nico Montano. But she doesn't have that ex-champion to knock out and say she's beaten all the best people in her division, because she is the best people in her division.
She's beaten every woman to ever hold a UFC or Bellator title at bantamweight or featherweight.
I mean,
like that's a nice, clean, one-sentence stat that just tells you about the dominance.
Yeah, it's very difficult to surpass that level of dominance and that place in history.
I pray that Nico Montano gets her stuff straightened out, works her way up bantamweight, and Amanda Nunes beats her, so that Amanda Nunes can have claim to beating every female champion at 125, 135, and 145. And
maybe Joanna decides to start eating some cheeseburgers, and then Nunes can take her own. Carlos Barza, Rose, line them all up. Let's eat some cheeseburgers. Let's do this. All right, fellas. So, of course, the people's main event, the return of Nick Diaz. This is a rematch that's been how many years in the making was this rematch?
17 and a half.
17 and a half years. Like, that's insane.
Nick Baldwin wasn't alive then.
Nick Baldwin was a twinkle in his daddy's eye in that first fight. And here we go. These two put on quite a show, in my opinion. Gentlemen, what do you think? Did this fight deliver? First and foremost, did it deliver? And then we'll get to the finish.
Delivered above and beyond what we could have expected. I thought there were two true outcomes to this fight. Either it was going to be a 90-second just thrashing of the depressing kind, like the Chuck Tito 3 type, or it was going to turn into one of the worst 5-round fights outside of heavyweight in UFC history. It was going to be one or the other, like two exhausted guys and Diaz clowning, or just an embarrassing like knockout in the first half of the first round. Instead, we got 2 rounds and change of a pretty good fight. It looked like a Nick Diaz Robbie Lawler fight, you know, at like 3/4 speed.
No, it's a fair assessment. Jay, what do you think?
It was so much more violent than I anticipated. In no way would I have thought that they would put the numbers they would put up and keep the pace that they kept for as long as they did. Now, granted, about 3 rounds into the second round, thanks to a couple really nasty liver kicks from Robbie Lawler, Diaz started to slow down a little bit. But we're talking about a pace that they outpaced everybody except for Alexander Volkanovski that night. And that was just in 2 rounds and 30 seconds or 45 seconds or something like that. I didn't have any expectation for this fight. I didn't have that feeling of this is going to live up to the hype. I watched the first fight. I saw it live, and it was fascinating because I had known Robbie Lawler to be grooming to be the next killer. Oh my God, everything. And Diaz put him out, and we went, oh, okay, well, we got something here. And then I thought we'd never see that happen again. And cut to 17 years later, and you go, that was a good fight. That was awesome. Had it not been for Volkanovski Ortega, they probably would have given them fight of the night. It gave us Robbie Lawler in that stalk you down, murder face mode. The I'm not going to beat him, I'm going to take his soul. That version of Robbie Lawler that people were waiting for. It's kind of like how everybody wanted Tyron Woodley to engage and throw. He's going to finally pull the trigger. I can't wait for Jose Aldo to finally throw leg kicks. Robbie Lawler finally engaged his ruthless mode again. And just for that moment, that felt good. Like Vanderlei Silva Chuck Liddell happened too late. We all know that, and it hurt. But it was still a blast because just for that 15-second burst, they both had flashes of what they brought to the table that we love them so much for. And this fight did that. And so it checked off that nostalgia box, like a Diablo 2 remake of I remember that when I was a kid, you know, that little twist there. That's what this fight gave to me.
All right. So I finally fixed the mic issue. So apologize for that. Yeah, you know what? My expectations were surpassed on this one. And I I expected Robbie Lawler to do what he did there, because you look at granted, he has not been very successful as of late, but Robbie Lawler has still tried to be Robbie Lawler. He's still tried to do the same things. It's just he's been doing them against opponents that wouldn't let him, like Rafael dos Anjos. The Ben Askren fight for him, he came out as Robbie Lawler in that one, but we know that was a weird guy. One. Yeah, he totally dumped him on his head. Like that was a Robbie Lawler moment. It just didn't come his way in the end. Colby Covington doesn't let you do anything other than become a punching bag. So you understand that. Neil Magny, one of the more consistently tricky guys in the division. So that made sense to me. That Robbie came out and did what he did. It's Nick that I'm more surprised with, because as you guys know, I typically don't favor a guy who is taking that amount of time off. If you've been out for like 2 years, I'm looking at you like, yeah, I don't think you're going to win your first one back. And that's just a general rule of mine. And especially as fight week kicked off and they got a microphone in front of Nick Diaz, and he's always a guy who's been disinterested and just socially awkward. But this was another level. This was, it's saying like, yeah, I think I'm going to get whooped up. Like what? What fighter says that? And maybe this is the inner monologue that goes into every fighter, before they step out there, and he's just the one guy to just verbalize it. entirely possible, but that's never a feeling of confidence to have a guy just saying, yeah, I'm probably going to get beat up. Like what? And then looking at their face-off, the most disinterested face-off I've ever seen, reminded of this, like a Jay-Z show that I went to once, and Jay-Z gets in front of the mic. The mic is on a stand, and he's barely moving. He's just rapping. Everybody's going crazy, and this guy's barely moving. Like that's what Nick Diaz looked like up there. Like he's just, I mean, he gave the most nothing flex, completely poker face off. He's just looking at him, and he looks out to the crowd. The crowd is going nuts, and this guy's just looking at you totally monotone. I did not expect much, but I was very, very surprised, pleasantly surprised. But I will say this though, Nick Diaz can only be Nick Diaz for select moments, and that is a sign of a fighter that is at the end of the train right there. He was only Nick Diaz in some of those moments. He would have walked through a lot of those shots in his best days, and clearly I think his best days are behind him, although he still can be very entertaining. Gentlemen, what did you think of that finish? Robbie Lawler landing the looks like I think it was a right check hook and to an uppercut once Diaz was on one knee, and he just kind of waved himself off and let the ref call it. What did you have in mind when that finish occurred?
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for doing that. I feel like that was an important moment. And granted, historically, Diaz is not unknown for that. He threw in the towel when Josh Thompson kicked his brother in the head, if you guys remember correctly. So he knows enough's enough. And that stoppage, I just prayed that fighters watching, because this was a fighters are watching this card type of event. It doesn't always have, you're not going to have anybody worth of, besides like here Prochaska watching the Walker Santos event next week, but this was all the fighters are watching type of event. And I hope that finish, seeing Nick go, no, I'm good here. I feel like that would destigmatize the TKO retirement, self corner stoppage type of thing, because no way, shape, or form people can say Nick quit. It's a different thing, quitting versus saying, no, I've taken a lot of damage. My nose is over here now. And I know there's nothing I'm probably going to be able to do to get back in this fight, because fighters are stupid. I love you fighters, but y'all are stupid. You're going to take punishment to the nth degree just in hopes of landing something silly to come back to. And you'll go on like, I don't know, like maybe the guy in the main event that was getting his face handed to him that could have done the same thing. I just want fighters to go, yeah, I'm good. I'll fight again in 3 months. I'll get it back.
Jay,
So
I'm so glad you said that, because I was thinking the entire time after that third round, the third round in the Ortega Volkanovski fight, I was like, man, I hope that they learned the lesson that Nick Diaz tried to teach everyone. Because as exciting as it was, as much as I wanted to see those 2 rounds play out, because hey, like it was a fun fight. But man, I was so concerned with Ortega, the way he laid on that ground, and when the round ended, and it was off camera, but I'm sure his corner had to help him up. I'm sure he didn't just get up on his own power like everything was all good. And
no, he was actually lifted onto the stool.
Yeah, like that's that's always a troublesome. Please don't eat the pop stopper, baby. Please don't do that. And my daughter is trying her best to eat the pop stopper. Thank you. I think she's about to start teething. But anyway, I was hoping that we'd see better decision-making, long-term decision-making later on in the card. But still, I think Nick Diaz, best way to finish it. If you're done, you are done. You got to live longer than the attention span of the knuckleheads who will call you a quitter.
That's why I respect Max Roscoff when he made his debut and went, I gave everything. I had an adrenaline dump. I'm done after 5 minutes. I can barely walk anymore. I'm out. People trashed him. They dumped on him. Dana cut him, and he fought again, and he won. I think it was in Brave or
CFC, CFFFC, I think
it was something like that. But anyway, I respect fighters like that. So I respect Nick Diaz. Holy crap!
Yeah,
I didn't think I'd think that.
Ben, any thoughts you want to share on that finish?
No, like you guys have laid it out there. I was glad it happened when and how it did. You know, there's no glory in going out on your shield when you're 38 years old and you haven't fought in 7 years. Just it wasn't your night.
Agreed. Wholeheartedly agreed.
Think of Crow Cop Junior Dos Santos when he went, I can't see anymore. I'm out.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. All right, fellas, let's move on to shallow cuts. This is where we'll have 30 seconds to answer a few questions here. So I think I'm going to go ahead and assign questions this time. Ben, I really want to hear your thoughts. How impressed, rank how by these, how impressed you were Dan Hooker and Nasrat Nasrat made it to the U.S. to fight. Both of them made weight, and the fight being entertaining. Which was more impressive to you?
All three were impressive, but least impressive that their fight was entertaining. These two guys don't know how to put on a bad fight, so if they made it, it was going to be great. Second most impressed that they made it to the U.S. I kind of suspected that they both would, you know. And then number one, that they both made weight. Like, not only did they basically have to cut weight on the road, but Hooker had been training out of his garage for a month. Like, how was he that sharp? Like, that's what was amazing to me. All
right, couple seconds to burn there, and I love your clock management. So beautiful. Jay, you are at bat now. What does the UFC do with Jessica Andrade?
Oh boy, I am going over on this one. They are screwed matchmaking Jessica Andrade. There is the worst situation they could possibly have in a fighter in Jessica Andrade. It's worse than Joe Benavidez. It's worse than Alexander Gustafsson, because she is going to keep lamping all of the top women in the division. She destroyed Caitlin Chukagian. She walked through, what was it, number 5, Cynthia Calvillo. That's going to happen if she fought Lauren Murphy, if she fought Jennifer Maia. That was 60 seconds?
That was 30 seconds.
Oh, 30 seconds. Well, I'm going to go for 30 more because it's what happens. Her best shot is 115 if she can make the weight, just because she has a win over one of the people that she could possibly fight in Rose Namajunas. Because you're not getting back to Valentina. Go ahead, Duffy.
No, and even the Weili Zhang fight, you could sell a rematch of that, because it's not like Zhang just thrashed her for 5 rounds.
Right.
Like, you know what? Zhang's going to do that to people. Like, I would still be happy to see them run it back.
Me too.
Yeah. I mean, Weili Zhang got a rematch off of the same thing happening to her with Rose. So
I feel so. Oh my God, I feel for Rose Namajunas more than almost any fighter on the roster. She has to beat the champion twice to hold the belt. This is not the first time she knocked the champion out, unquestionably, no fluke about it, and she has to fight them again. That is just the craziest thing for a woman. What? Rose has 10 or 11 fights in her career.
Yeah, the one person on the roster with the Dagestani 2 guard that doesn't get the respect that they deserve. Absolutely ridiculous. All right, fellas. I guess I'm left to answer a question. I'll start the clock. Jay, ask me a question.
Oh, you want me to? Oh, you're going to start?
Yeah, and I'll start the clock after that. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so you watched the beginning of this card. You missed a couple fights, so I'm not going to obviously ask you a question about Chris Daukaus. So second
my daughter just messed up the clock. Let me go back to.
I'll read it while you're talking. While you're going.
There we go. I got it back now.
There. Yeah. So Matthew Semelsberger got out there and knocked out Nick Diaz protege Martin Sano in 15 seconds. Should this fight have even been sanctioned, brought to the UFC? Should Martin Sano have been signed? Any way you want to address that. How do you feel about the whole Semelsberger Sano situation? Ding.
I don't like this at all. I mean, you're talking about a guy who is grossly inexperienced against someone who is training at a top level camp. It just shouldn't happen. But the thing is, unfortunately, we kind of need more fights like this to happen in the UFC to some level if you want to build fighters. Like, this is you got to build guys And this is kind of the way to do it. I just wish they didn't take such an extreme route to do it.
Nice. Everybody needs a little can crushing in their life.
Little politicking.
Little Campbell's tomato soup.
Yeah, you thought I was just gonna throw stones at the UFC. I will at some point, I'm sure. Just not right at this moment. So
I thought I'd better than throwing blades at blades.
Yeah. I actually, I'm not mad at what Curtis Blaydes did. So yeah, I was going to. Yeah, if I got that question.
30 seconds. Tell me about Curtis Blaydes.
All right, so here we go. Here, I'll start the clock over 30 seconds. Yeah, Curtis Blaydes should definitely be applauded for what he did against Jairzinho Rozenstruik. The objective is to win. You win the fight. The reason why this guy keeps creeping up in the title discussions and all the contendership talk is because he keeps winning at the right times. He may lose when, he faces Francis Ngannou or the knockout against Derek Lewis, but the fact remains he finds his way back. He finds his way back by winning. Against a kickboxer, you out wrestle him. It's called mixed martial arts, people.
You play to win the game.
That's it, man. They don't give you double your check to lose. So and I don't want to rely on the bonuses just in case you get a Volkanovski or Ortega on the card. Fight of the night is not the bonus you want to bank on. All right, fellas. So let's move things on. Time to break out your seasoning salt, your cracked pepper, perhaps a little butter for the pan, and ask the age-old question: how's Taste My Crow? Ben, how's Taste My Crow this week?
Well, I had a fantastic night. I went 12 for 13 on the UFC 266 card. However, the only fight I got wrong, I didn't just get the outcome wrong. I got the whole fight wrong. Uros versus Jalin Turner, two lightweight prospects that I'm generally high on both of them. I think they both have a high ceiling. Both still seem to be improving from fight to fight. But my thought was that two guys with a lot of the same strengths and weaknesses, if one guy was able to leverage those on the other, it would be Medic. And I literally said on the preview, I bet this thing ends up with Medic taking Turner down and pounding him out on the ground. Instead, Turner put on easily the best performance of his career so far, was better in every phase, had Medic on the back foot, and took him down, dominated him on the ground, and got the quick finish. So I will happily take that tarantula flavored crow. Oh God, I can't even say that without throwing up in my mouth. Like the crow with like the hairy legs and shit. But no, fantastic performance from Jalin Turner. I still believe in Medic as a solid prospect. So I'm happy to have this crow because it's all good news.
All right. Jay, how's Taste My Crow this week?
Well, it's unhappy. And it's unhappy for the happy warrior. Look, we love Roxanne Modafferi. She is one of those fighters that you would be hard-pressed to ask any fan who knows who she is and go, God, oh my God, she's the worst. What does she do wrong? Just personality and whatever the way she fights, the way she improves. She just got all of that going. And she's also very welcoming with her fans, which all the things you want in a fighter. I know Taila Santos is who the UFC is trying to, probably with one more win, feed to Valentina Shevchenko. But I will never be able to get past the fact that she's 18-1 as a professional, because she's not, if you really look at what she did to get to where she did. She's a member of Astra Fight Team in Brazil. I've talked about this before. Astra Fight Team runs a fight promotion called Aspera FC. This is the U.S. equivalent of Gladiator Challenge, if you're familiar, or Explode Fight Series, in that she will be fighting an 0-4 fighter as she's 10-0. It's that kind of matchmaking that you go, well, what do we do here? Oh my God, she was what? She was 10 or 11-0, and she knocked out 0-0 Giselle Pereira with a head kick in a minute. What do you take from that? So I never will be able to look at her and go, I can see her as a fighter that is going to make waves when she falls short to Italian steroid queen Mara Borella. She just didn't have anything that I would see working for her. And on the other hand, Roxanne Modafferi had an incredible streak of winning and then losing the next fight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fights in a row. She had won and then lost the next one. She lost a decision to Vivian Araujo, so the pattern was for her to beat Taila Santos. You love Roxy, 39 years young, just turned 39 the other day. Actually, I think she turned 39 on Friday, I believe. This is a birthday weekend. because Chris Daukaus and Jessica Andrade both celebrated birthdays on Saturday. They both won by knockout. But yeah, it's the emoji with the smile and the tear coming out of the face as I'm eating that crow for the happy warrior. But you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm happy to say that I don't really have too many crazy surprises, like more so with how some of the fights played out, not necessarily the results. I will admit to picking Brian Ortega to beat Volkanovski very early on when that matchup was announced. But as we got closer to fight week and stuff, I was like, I don't know about that one so much. So no huge surprises. I mean, definitely was surprised that Lauren Murphy wasn't the victor against Valentina Shevchenko. Who would have saw that coming?
Victory from the jaws of defeat, my man.
Yeah, I will say I like her, the way she's handled the defeat. Class act, like absolute class act. Her corner definitely failed her in that one though, but whole other story. All right, gentlemen, we're going to move on to the best title segment in all of media history. I'm not surprised, Mr. Falcons. This is where we share something that surprised us or ironically did not over the past week. I will begin with you, Jay. What's your I'm not surprised, Mr. Falcons moment this week?
I want to be surprised. I'll skip that. I'll wait for later. There was a lot to be surprised about this past week, but I think I'm actually the most surprised, or no, I take it back. I am completely ironically unsurprised about the fact that Rafael dos Anjos is out of his fight with Islam Makhachev due to a knee injury that requires surgery. This matchup is turning into the Khabib versus Tony. This is now the third time it's gone through. Now, I believe it's been one, let's see. Makhachev got staph, so he was out one time. I think there was an injury. I think maybe it's two faults to Dos Anjos. I think right now Dos Anjos has the injury edge on his opponent. It's an intangible to look at the matchup, but no one's going to fight Islam Makhachev. He's going to age out of the division by the time he gets somebody, and it's going to end up being like a Dan Hooker. Well, maybe that's the fight he wants, but fights that you want to see, good stylistic matchups that answer questions like that. We always talk about. I want to learn something, and I would learn something from that fight. And son of a gun, we ain't getting it, boys. I am not surprised, Mr. Falcons.
All right, Ben, what's your I'm not surprised, Mr. Falcons moment this week?
Well, I mean, again, probably shouldn't be surprised, but I was surprised by the display of professionalism from start to finish of the LFA 115 card. I mean, this is a card that I think it was almost half debuting fighters. There were 5 weight misses at the weigh-ins out of a 13 fight card, and then 2 more were like scratched for various reasons. So just this thing was like shotgun Swiss cheese just at weigh-ins day. But the co-main event, a mildly intriguing heavyweight prospect matchup between Chad Johnson and Jordan Heiderman. If Chad Johnson's name is familiar to you, it's not the Ocho Cinco one, but it is the one who lost to Josh Parisian on the Contender Series just last year when Parisian finally made his way to the UFC. But Chad Johnson finished the fight with a picture-perfect, spectacular soccer kick to the head knockout in 30 seconds. I mean, just vintage Shogun Rua, Vanderlei Silva type soccer kick. The only problem being that soccer kicks to the head are completely illegal in North American MMA. So Chad Johnson loses by disqualification in 26 seconds. And he is my winner of the newly inaugurated Maximo Blanco Award for 2021, where it's not the most flagrant foul or the worst foul. It is the foul that makes you go, do you even know the rules to this fucking sport? Congratulations, Chad Johnson.
I Petr Yan special.
I think you need to actually codify this. I'm just
I'm gonna do like some Sherdog anti-year-end awards at the end of the year.
I am very.
I can't wait.
Give me a call. I'll be happy to chime in.
Oh my god, I can't wait to read that. Yeah, and speaking of Petr Yan, I'm not surprised. Mr. Falcons moments comes from his nemesis and now champion Aljamain Sterling, who has now been scratched out of injury for their rematch to try to set the bantamweight division back on track. I'm not surprised for two things. One, that Aljo had to pull out of this fight. This was a rush timeline for him to return from neck surgery. I think he originally wanted to return in December, but he tried to do the UFC a solid, something that has proven to be a great thing for your overall health and long-term career prospects. And of course, I'm also not surprised about the fan backlash about this, because people are stupid. If a man has neck surgery and he is not healing properly, maybe not the best idea to jump into a cage and fight a trained killer. Just a random thought for all you knuckleheads who don't know how to throw a punch and seem to think you know it all via social media. So I'm not surprised that the UFC's timetable did not coincide with the body of a human being, an elite level athlete who knows his body. And neither am I surprised by the reaction of the stupid people that watch the sport. So I'm not surprised, Mr. Falcons.
He didn't even pull out of it due to injury. He was not cleared to compete by the medical professionals who went, dude, your neck is not okay. Yeah. So it's not like Rafael dos Anjos pulls out. Now, granted, he needed surgery due to an injury, but this was, dude, your neck is like a whisker away from Kurt Angle. Let's pump the brakes a little bit here.
Probably not the best thing to go into a training camp with, involving heavy wrestling and taking shots to the head. Probably not. And then to have that culminate with a true school fight against someone who is capable of doing all sorts of damage to you. Ridiculous that people are reacting like this, but people are ridiculous. So there we go. And now I guess it's time to get into the universal. I'm not surprised, Mr. Falcons. Hours after being inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame, the jacket was still fresh on him. It still didn't have wrinkles in the back because it just came off the hanger, just put on his back. Well, I guess some vodka and cocaine stained the sleeve, and Jon Jones found himself arrested in Las Vegas. Just a few hours later, we still don't know a lot of the details surrounding this, but we know the charges are domestic violence and damaging a vehicle. So doesn't sound like a time you want to document for Sesame Street. But fellas, should we be surprised by this anymore? Is this par for the course for one Jonathan Dwight Jones?
Where it makes me concerned is that his family was with him in Las Vegas. I wrote the brief up for Sherdog when it came out and went, oh my God, this is not good. And why I mentioned that is because when I was going through to get a cover image for photographs from the Hall of Fame ceremony, there were very few of him by himself, and I wanted to have him just from hours before. I wanted to have him there, and I had his jacket or whatever. Almost all of the pictures, including Jon Jones, were with his family, the missus and the kids. And I fear that it's the kind of thing that escalates. It's the kind of thing that it's DV now, and then it's something worse and something worse. And we've seen this. I mean, we know because of his litany of issues. When I, when I wrote up the article, I had to take a full paragraph to talk about his other offenses over the years, the DWIs, the drag racing, the hitting the pregnant woman with his car. And I wanted to be surprised. So I wanted to be like, oh my God, I can't believe it. But all I thought was, oh my God, I can believe that. And that hurts. This is I want to ask you guys a question. Will the UFC react differently to this because it's domestic violence, or the allegation, the charge? This is not an allegation anymore. This is a charge. I looked it up on the court records to verify this information. It's a charge of domestic violence. Will the UFC take some sort of anything about this? In either of you guys, free for all.
Yes, but not because it's domestic violence, but because they are currently embroiled in disputes with them. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't trust the UFC to take an ethical stand on its athletes, its public representatives, being criminals, but I do expect them to use this as a leverage or a stick to beat Jon Jones with. like that's the only thing that's changed, is that Jon Jones isn't currently a sitting champ and one of their poster boys. He's somebody that's been on the outs because of contract disputes. They're totally going to turn this on him, and already have. Like, you could tell in Dana White's demeanor in the sound bites. Like, it was like just short of rolling his eyes and going, "Oh, here we go again." Like asshole John doing asshole shit. It's a different energy.
Yeah, it's much different than the energy that Dana White put out there when he was determined to get Jeremy Stephens out of jail to fight that same day, or
he will fight on this card.
Yeah, or looking the other way for a lot of the things that Conor McGregor has been accused of. So the only way this is going to inspire some action from the UFC is, like Ben said, to X amount of getting money out of his contract, to use it as a means to look after their pockets, nothing more. Like, this is not going to be the moral stance that they claim to take with was it who was that Kit Cope, I think, that they cut because of the old domestic violence charge when he was in the Air Force, I believe.
Cody East also had one of those. I
remember the Cody East thing. So it's not going to be anything like that. It's just going to be leverage. That's all. I mean, that's all that really matters at this point with the UFC, is scraping those pennies. So, all right, fellas. We got Bellator 267 in London. Michael Venom Page gets his second crack at Douglas Lima. Now, I want to say that I'm just going to say I believe the same thing happens. I think Douglas Lima gets an emphatic victory over MVP. This time it'll just be with the British flag in the background. But the main thing I want to focus on here is the rest of the card. Is this the true definition of a one-fight event?
It's not even that. Like, it would be a one-fight event if this were the first time that Lima and MVP were fighting, but we already saw this, and Lima like kind of watched Page do his little dance, put him ass over tea kettle with one well-placed, like one well-timed low kick, the same way that everybody had been like, dude, why doesn't somebody just kick his leg when he does this shit? And Lima finally did it. So it's not even a one-fight card, it's a one-fighter card, and that fighter is Liam McCourt. Like, I'm more excited to see Liam McCourt than anything else on this card, because I'm that dumbass that, like, when I see a 5'8" to 5'10" woman with like an actual like powerful frame come along, I'm like, hey, that's the great featherweight hope. Like, that's all I care about on this card.
You're killing me, man. Have you guys? I mean, you've seen them. You've probably seen all of the matches, or at least a couple of them. What Michael Page has done to earn this rematch. He's on a 5-fight win streak with 4 knockouts within 2 rounds. But, like, his level of competition is a shade away from Tyler Santos and Astra. It's just, he's the number whatever rank they have in the division. The Bellator has rankings now, and he hasn't even sniffed opponent like that. Like, Derek Anderson was his best opponent by then. Now he's fighting Douglas Lima. Like, that's the kind of shift in what are we doing here that makes me go, oh, that's right. They're in London, and they want to have a local guy hopefully get something crazy in their international foray, because, oh my God, I've watched most, if not every one of these competitors on the card fight, and I can look at the lineup. There are 13 fights on this card. This is a Bellator card with Bellator prelims on it. Bellator level prelims. I can't think of more than maybe 1 or 2 fighters on this card that I go, boy, I'm looking forward to seeing them fight again. And it's probably Uros Jurisic, and he's the guy who fought in KSW and had that post-fight brawl after losing to what's his name? Shamil Musayev, the undefeated Russian cat. So Liam McCourt. Yeah, Liam McCourt's going to fight. Oh, cool. She's probably going to be 6-1, but she's fighting a 500 fighter. So we can't glean anything from that result. It'd be like if Michael Venom Page was fighting another bartender. Like, what are we doing here?
It's like, hey, well, I was a bartender.
Yeah.
Like,
And I actually got into like
You
a
want to
fight or
fight Michael
two
Venom Page?
behind the bar.
I can call a guy.
I bet you if like Bellator officials were there the last time, like I actually like got into a fight with someone as a bartender, I would have been standing in the cage next to MVP, and I would got decimated.
I'm only half joking that saying I could make a phone call and hook you up with a Bellator person when they come back to LA real soon. You could probably get on the prelims.
I'll probably hit up CJ Tuttle. Like, what's up, man? I used to bartend.
I can make 170.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't know about that right now. Like, how much time we got? All right, fellas. So also the UFC.
Hold on.
Oh,
I would fly out to cover that live if you fought on Bellator. On my own dime. I would be right there.
That would be.
I wouldn't corner you because I'm not that kind of guy, but
yeah. But would you come visit me in the hospital when it was over with?
I might be driving.
What depends on the type of matchmaking. Like, I'll still fight.
You'll
what's
fight
his name?
guy.
Johnny Tapia. What's his? I keep calling him Johnny Tapia. Diego Sanchez's old coach.
Oh, Fabia, yeah.
Fabia.
Yeah, I'd fight him. All right.
No, they would absolutely match you up against like I don't know, David Rickles or something.
Yeah, or racist cops. But anyway, let's keep things pushing here. The UFC is also going to be in action this weekend, headlined by Johnny Walker and Thiago Santos in a fight that I'd say promises some level of fireworks. I mean, this sounds pretty dope. This is a pretty dope matchup. Now let's give quick predictions on that fight, and we'll wrap it up by saying what other fight might jump off the card to you. I say Thiago Santos is going to win this one. I think he's going to mix up the grappling with the striking, give a complete mixed martial arts performance, and Johnny Walker won't be able to do his super athletic fly around stuff with his aerodynamic haircut blowing in the wind.
I'm concerned about Thiago Santos. I'm concerned not only because he's 37 now and off of a whole bunch of knee injuries. We know in his last few fights, when he fought Alexander Rakic, when he fought Glover Teixeira, he had moments, but only moments. And you don't want to have moments in a big fight like that. You don't want to have a moment or two against Johnny Walker, who is going to be flying at you faster than Nick Diaz doing a spinning kick, whatever thing he did. This is a rough matchup for Thiago Santos on a skid. This is the kind of fight I believe the UFC is praying this will bring out Moreta version of Thiago, the hammer version of him. The, oh my God, he's going to get down there and throw bungalows and do what he did to Jimmy Manuwa and have that crazy all-out battle. This is the matchup they're hoping brings it out of him. But I don't see a lot left in Thiago Santos. I think he is a family guy now. Like we're talking about fighters that have been transitioning out. He and Yana Kunitskaya I think they're married now. They're pleased as punch. They're getting ready. I think they have a baby on the way. So
I'm going to be a champ of something in like 2051.
Holy smokes. Oh my God. It's going to be a Goliath. And I can't wait. Maybe it'll fight little Adonis Walker in the cage. Anyway, this is not good for Thiago Santos. So I'm actually going Walker. I believe it would be an upset. Yeah, it'd be an upset, but based on recent performances, I'm struggling to see what Santos has left.
Right.
Duffy, am I crazy, Duffy?
No, Johnny Walker is crazy. I don't know which I trust less, the cartilage in Santos's knees with the cartilage between Walker's ears, because I mean, I agree with you. I feel as though Thiago Santos is on his last legs, and like, no pun intended. I really do think he's on his way out in terms of his commitment to the sport and just in terms of his physical capability. But having said that, I think Johnny Walker is probably the highest ranked light heavyweight I would favor him over right now. Just because if he fights just a boring, button down, bread and butter kickboxing match, this is as fast as I can go match, I think he beats Johnny Walker. Like, I don't, for all of his flaws, Thiago Santos is not typically a guy that has gotten starched by bursts of his opponent's offense. And if he can avoid that, as bad as his gas tank is, it's going to be better than Walker's. And yeah, I think if he's smart, he just marches out and gets a pretty ho-hum decision. You know, like that. I do favor him. And you want to know what else we were excited about? This is actually quietly a hell of a card, but I'll go all the way down to Antonina Shevchenko versus Casey O'Neill. Stole it from you.
Got it.
Because you forgot to name another fight you were interested in.
I did.
Casey O'Neill looks by the eyeball test to be the real deal, and giving her to Antonina Shevchenko, it has a little whiff of feeding the old lions to the new. Like, they clearly, the UFC, when they signed her off of just a dog shit performance on the Contender Series, back when dog shit performances didn't used to get you a UFC contract, they clearly wanted the other Shevchenko sister to do well, and she has done pretty well. I mean, you know, she's performed better than I thought she would. She's about 500 in the UFC, but this is going to put Casey O'Neill over, I think.
All right, not a bad pick there. The fight that I'm looking forward to is the Kamal Worthy triangle of Jamie Malarkey and Devontae Smith. That promises some level of fireworks right there. Two action-friendly guys, and yeah, someone's probably going to take a nap before the final bell rings. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Jay, what's one that you're looking forward to?
Mostly, I'm looking forward to it so I can rest my play-by-play fingers after about 90 seconds, because that's all it's going to be. But Alex Oliveira, Nico Price, come on. That has stupid finish. That has, both guys are probably going to get dropped in like the first 2 minutes of the fight, maybe. This has, it would be fight of the night had it gone longer, type of an appeal to it. It's two guys that are coming off of a bunch of losses, or I think if they haven't won in a while. And this is the kind of performance where one of them is going to make dumb decisions. Wait a second, it's Alex Oliveira and Nico Price. So just get weird, because that's
Price by something we've literally never seen before in the octagon.
And I am all
kind of like the Randy Brown type. Yeah,
it's gonna be a double up kick knockout. Something solely stupid.
Give me like a bicycle kick, like a Liu Kang kind of thing.
All right, fellas. So that's going to do it for this edition of Unleashed. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, share, tell a friend to tell a friend, tell that friend to tell 10 more friends. You can find Ben and Jay on Sherdog. Jay will be doing the play-by-play this Saturday, so follow along if you can't watch the fights as going on, and at least follow the live scoring, because Jay does compile the live scoring for the event as well. Ben, are you scoring it this weekend?
He'll probably ask me at the last minute.
Okay,
that's how we roll.
I think it's early, so I don't think I will. I think this is an early card. I'm gonna, right before we go, I'm gonna check that to confirm for our viewers. I'm pretty sure this is one of those cards, because they're alternating times. They're not throwing it on at really late, like at 10 o'clock or 7 o'clock or something like that.
I might actually watch some of it live.
I believe the main card starts at 7 my time.
Oh,
okay.
So
yeah, that's not bad at all.
Right.
All right, cool. Well, and of course you can find me on MMA on Point. And yeah, I think that'll do it. And you know what to do. Stay beautiful, stay positive, and stay sexy. I'll see you when I see you. Peace.